This video is brought to you by Brilliant. Today, the US plans to pull out of Iraq, irregular migration into the EU falls, and North Korea offers a rare glimpse into its nuclear program. From TLDR News, this is your daily briefing for Friday the 13th of September 2024. The United States and Iraq have struck a deal that will see the US withdraw most of its troops from the Middle Eastern country over the next 2 years. It would be the second time that the US has pulled out of Iraq during its more than 2 decades of intervention in the country. The Washington Post reports that the withdrawal of the roughly 2,500 American troops from Iraq would take place in 2 stages. The first beginning this year and continuing into 2025, and the second concluding in 2026. The tentative plan, which is yet to be officially announced, would reportedly see just a small number of US troops remain in semi-autonomous Kurdistan, as a, quote, security guarantee for Iraqi Kurds against the Iranian-backed militia groups that hold wide sway in the rest of the country. But why have US forces been in Iraq this whole time anyway? The US established a presence in Iraq in 2003, when US-led forces invaded and toppled the regime of Saddam Hussein. A subsequent civil war and insurgency against US and allied forces prompted the US to build up its troop presence, reaching a peak of 170,000 American troops in Iraq in 2007. The US eventually withdrew by 2011, but the rise of ISIS in 2014 and seizure of swathes of Iraq and Syria prompted a new US-led intervention named Operation Inherent Resolve. Following the territorial defeat of ISIS, the US began drawing down its presence in Iraq, with roughly 2,500 troops remaining there to this day. Iraqi calls for the US's withdrawal have been made for some years now. For example, the Iraqi parliament voted in 2020 to call on the government to end the presence of foreign troops in the country. The following year, the US ended its combat mission and shifted to advising and assisting Iraqi security forces, something that Reuters says changed little on the ground. The war in Gaza and ensuing regional tensions have brought renewed attention to the US's presence, as American positions in the country have come under attack from Iran-backed militia groups, and the US carried out strikes against said groups in Iraq and Syria. Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani is keen to negotiate an end to the US presence in his country, saying that Iraq is now capable of defending itself, and claiming the US's presence is actually more destabilizing than stabilizing. The reported striking of a withdrawal deal, which the US has not commented on, will see the US-led mission transition into a sustainable security partnership, according to Iraq's defense minister. For the US, maintaining a small contingent, particularly in Kurdistan, has been seen as key to countering Iranian influence and supporting the 900 or so US troops that remain in neighbouring Syria. There's more on the way, but remember to subscribe and ring the bell for more daily briefing on Monday. Plus, if you want to support the channel like Bhutanese Mapper, then consider joining the TLDR Daily Membership Programme for just $1.99. Despite migration dominating European political debate this year and helping fuel the growth of anti-immigration parties, irregular migration into the European Union has actually fallen in the first 8 months of this year. Data from the International Organization for Migration shows that from January to August, irregular crossings over the EU's southern border, the most common routes, fell 35% compared to the same period a year earlier. In raw numbers, that's 115,000 people entering the EU without permission so far this year, versus 176,000 in the first 8 months of last year. A similar trend can be seen in data from the EU's border agency Frontex, which showed that unauthorized entries via Europe's southern borders fell 39% this year compared to last year. The central Mediterranean route into Europe, which sees people take boats from Libya and Tunisia to Malta and Italy, remains the most popular route, but has seen a 63% decrease in crossings. This has come as the EU has supported crackdowns on migrant crossings in Libya and Tunisia. However, as smuggling networks shift and adapt to such developments, there's been a significant spike in crossings, more than doubling via the increasingly popular Western Africa Atlantic route, which sees migrants attempt to reach Spain's Canary Islands from places like Morocco, Western Sahara, Mauritania, and Senegal. The dangerous route has resulted in thousands of deaths and missing people, according to Spanish migrant rights group Walking Borders. Moving to North Korea now, where Kim Jong-un has visited a uranium enrichment facility and released photos of its centrifuges for the first time. State media reported that the facility is a production base for weapons-grade nuclear materials, with the photos giving outside observers their first look into North Korea's nuclear program. Now, while these pictures do give an insight, it has not been made clear exactly when the pictures were taken, nor the exact location of the nuclear facility. It's clear, though, that North Korea is aiming to exponentially increase, according to Kim, the number of centrifuges it has, and these photos seem to be a way for the North Korean government to demonstrate that they are. It's worth mentioning here that North Korea's nuclear program is banned under multiple United Nations Security Council resolutions. However, Kim, in defiance of said resolutions, claims that the weapons are needed for self-defense and the capability for a preemptive attack. Specifically, Kim explained that recent anti-DPRK, or North Korean nuclear threats, from the US imperialist-led vassal forces have gone too far, likely referring to things like recent South Korean-US joint military drills. More than 30,000 Boeing workers will go on strike beginning on Friday, in yet another challenge for the embattled plane maker. The workers, who make Boeing's 737 MAX and other planes in the Seattle and Portland areas, voted overwhelmingly on Thursday to reject a proposed pay deal, opting, again overwhelmingly, to go on strike. The proposed deal offered, among other things, a 25% pay rise over 3 years, below the 40% increase over 3 years that the union had pushed for. One mechanic said Boeing is saying that they're in a tough spot recovering, yet their executive salaries haven't changed. COO Stephanie Pope makes over $300,000 every 2 weeks. It's much deeper than pay and benefits, it's Boeing's culture. We're a family here in my shop. In response to the vote to strike, Boeing said it was ready to get back to the table to reach a deal. At this stage, it's unclear how long the strike will go on for. A 2008 strike lasted 52 days and hit revenue by an estimated $100 million per day. The company has been mired in scandal in recent years, following several fatal crashes in 2018 and 2019, and more recent plane fault incidents. Boeing CEO was ousted earlier this year after an FAA audit of 737 MAX production found multiple instances where Boeing allegedly failed to comply with manufacturing quality control requirements. Boeing agreed to plead guilty to a criminal fraud conspiracy charge and pay a fine of $243.6 million to resolve a US Justice Department investigation in July this year. Now, for our uplifting story today, we go to a zoo enclosure in Thailand's Chonburi province, where a 2-month-old pygmy hippo called Mu Deng became a viral sensation. With her seemingly feisty antics and petrified looks, social media users and fans across the world can't get enough of the playful baby hippo, whose name translates into bouncy pig or pork fatty by various interpretations. Photos and videos have circulated of Mu Deng eating, sleeping, or being dramatic, and has been described by some ex-users and Time magazine as a, quote, lifestyle icon. Aside from being the subject of endless fan art and merch, she's gained the attention of the Thai embassy in Tokyo, the makeup company Sephora Thailand, and has even her own Wikipedia page. Some visitors of the zoo, however, have overstepped boundaries and harassed Mu Deng by splashing her with water. These actions have been widely condemned online, and the zoo's director has threatened legal action against harassers. With issues like these, it's often hard to come to the right conclusions. So if you want to improve your decision making, you'll want to check out Brilliant. Brilliant is where you learn by doing, with thousands of interactive lessons in maths, data analysis, programming, and AI. For instance, there's the Scientific Thinking course, which takes you on an interactive tour of our physical world. You'll engage with key scientific principles and theories, from simple machines like gears and pulleys to Einstein's special theory of relativity. It's not just a bunch of lectures either, with hands-on lessons that have you comparing circuits to understand voltage and current, playing snooker to learn the rules of collision, planning your itinerary for an intergalactic music festival on a space-time diagram, and more. That way you'll build your natural intuition while gaining deep knowledge of scientific principles. Find out more and to try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/TLDR. or click the link in the description. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription. Thanks for your support, and thanks to Brilliant for sponsoring this video.